Hey everybody, welcome back. So, I haven't been able to fly a lot. It's been a crazy year so far, and I haven't had a lot of time to finish building. So, the workshop is an absolute and total mess. Hoping to get the OV10 done. I crashed my Bearcat. So the Bearcat is the plane that I use to practice takeoff and landing FPV. And I had a really hard landing the other day on grass. It was really windy, the wind was coming from different directions, I couldn't gauge my speed, and I came in and just dumped it on landing gear, which ultimately ripped the retracts out of the wings, if you can see that. The retracts actually down there dangling, and it just stuffed the plane. I can probably fix these wings. I had to get a couple of different things from Motion anyways, so I got a new set of wings. They were rather cheap. I think it was like 30 bucks for the 35 bucks for the two wings. I mean, it sucks, but the rest of the plane was actually okay. It's got a little road rash on the bottom of it. This is a tough plane. I've crashed this plane a couple of times now. As you can tell, it's got, elevator tape on there. But for the price, it's a great flyer. It's not the fastest plane in the world, but once it gets up in the air, it does a great job. It takes off pretty easily. I've had some couple of really good landings with it. This one just happened to fail. So I do like this plane. It's not as fast as I would like it to be. I like my planes to be a little bit faster, but for my purposes of learning how to take off and land FPV, which is that's a different skill set than throwing a plane FPV and landing it on its belly. You really have to have the landing kind of spot on, because either you dump it too hard like I did on this, or you dump it on its nose, or you blast the tail off the plane. This is my practice plane for that. Great plane. Kind of a shame that I'm abusing it like this, but out of all of my planes, this is the one that I want to practice with. That P-47, I got to put retracts in it, and that'll be another practice plane for me to take off and land with. The cargo plane, I've landed successfully a couple times. Easy to land FPV. My Maul, I've landed a couple times, easy to land. That's got nice high landing gear. Same thing with the Primo. I've had a couple of successful landings with that. But, I want to get down and get more scale and be able to take off and land from a runway, especially with jets and stuff like that. I have an L-39 brand new in a box that I haven't been able to put together, but that is a plane that I, in the future, want to be able to take off and land smoothly from a runway. And unfortunately, a couple planes are going to die in the process of me doing that. So right now I'm in the process of swapping everything over. Workshop is in a mess. The Bronco, I have not flown this yet. I bought this plane, I don't know, a year and a half ago maybe. Haven't gotten around to finishing it. Almost done with that. I cut the canopy off. I'm going to put the head tracker FPV thing up here. VTX is going to go back there. The Albatross is basically done. I want to get that ready for taking off and landing FPV from the water. Like I said, I haven't gotten down flying line of sight. I used to be able to do it when I was younger, and now I can't fly line of sight for some reason because I started flying FPV. So my remedy is going to be learning how to fly, take off and land with retracts and stuff via FPV. So that's where I'm at. People do it. There's a lot of guys online doing it. It'll be really cool when I can do it, successfully 100% of the time. Right now I'm in the crashing and practice phasing. It's like when you first learning how to fly FPV with a quad or a drone, you crash a lot. Well, that's where I'm at. I'm back at the crashing a lot phase. So that's what I'm up to right now. Gonna swap over these wings. Like I said, the bottom of the plane is okay. It's got some road rash on the bottom, nothing major. I'll just throw a little glue on it, touch it up a little bit, she'll be good to go. And that's basically it. So yeah, I don't know if you want to watch me swap everything kind of over. So what I am going to do though is I will save these wings They aren't absolutely horrible. I could use some glue and some, I like using the foam Gorilla Glue, and then I can sand it off nicely. So I really could fix these wings, even this wing with the giant chunk missing out of it. That's fine. I have the pieces. Everything kind of landed in one spot at the field. I tested the retracts, make sure that I didn't break the actual retracts, made sure that they weren't bent or anything, so the retracts are good. Yeah, I have this plane down here. That's the Avio Spitfire, the small one, the 1200 or 1100 millimeter. That's almost done. That's got retracts and landing gear, so that'll be another plane that I can take off and land. Only problem with that plane is since it's a little bit smaller, you're going to need to have really nice grass to take off and land from, or a concrete runway, which there is a concrete runway I can fly from, big parking lot style that I can take off and land from, so that's what I'll have to do with that. But yeah, so right now it's the beginning of May. I've had the craziest winter between work, school, kids. I haven't had a lot of time to fly. I've made some space in the pretty 3D printer space. I gotten this one up and running. That was the one I built. I did one test print with it, didn't come out great, so there's a bunch of tweaking that has to happen with this one. This is my regular original modded Ender 3, and this is an Anycubic Cobra Neo. Great little printer, direct drive. You can't beat it for the price. Alright, so that's what I got going on, so maybe you guys can watch me for a little bit. I don't know if that's going to be boring or not. Some people like that kind of stuff, but yeah, that's what I got going on today. I actually had some time off from work, so I decided to take a day off and see if I can get a bunch of my stuff done and ready to fly. I have some FPV drone stuff that I need to fix up too. I don't have any working quads right now. I'm having VTX issues. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff to do to be able to fly, and I'm still not there, and I'm a lot further into the season than I want to be. I've gotten to go fly twice already though, so you know, that's not horrible for me. Normally by this time of the year I've flown probably 5 or 6 times. It's been a harder year than most, so I've only gotten to fly twice already. So I'm going to set up my tripod real quick, just bear with me. And you know, once I get this stuff, my tripod's not cooperating. Once I really get going with all this YouTube stuff, I do plan on doing a giveaway. I don't know what I'm going to give away yet, but I have a bunch of planes in that corner over there that are brand new in boxes that would love to be given away. So that's what we're going to do, and hopefully I'll gain some more followers out of it. Like I said, you know, I'm not doing this YouTube thing to be famous or anything like that. I just think that it's a great community with the airplane community that we have, and I think that people will get some information out of it. Alright. Not the greatest background in the world, but what are you going to do? So, that's where we're at. Let's start swapping out some of this stuff from this wing, and then we'll put it to the side. Now, control horns. Control horns, control horns, control horns. I can't stress the importance of having spare control horns. The last time I crashed, I broke this little control horn. It's very important to keep a bunch of these on the side, pick up a couple of control arms. Now the last time I crashed this plane, I took off the aileron surface, so what I did was I put in some nylon hinges and glued them in, but that obviously popped out during this crash. But I could just add a little glue on that, put that back in. I have a nice control surface. It's a little messy, but it was a quick fix I did one day, and it works pretty good. So we got the retract out of this already. Next step is going to be getting the servos out, and then I'll flip over the left wing and throw that stuff in there, and then I can bolt the left wing back on. This should be a quick process of swapping these wings. Get an X-Acto knife, just get a nice bit of bleed. So because I'm probably going to use these wings again at some point, what I like to do is not damage them when I'm taking out the servos here. So they usually glue the servos on the sides and on the bottom. So if you can at least get the sides free without really damaging it, make sure you don't cut the wires either. If you cut the wire on the servo, that's it. The servo is useless. I can feel I'm cutting through some of that. And I just go around it and I loosen it up a little bit. Be sure not to cut myself in the process of doing that. I got some cool projects coming up that I'm going to be working on. That I'm actually going to probably put some of the scale planes to the side pretty soon. I don't even know what you guys are looking at right now, to be honest with you. I'm going to put some of the scale planes to the side probably next month. And I'm going to start working on my VTOL build that I started last year, the Ardu Pilot VTOL build. So I have two Ardu Pilot planes. One's a regular Ardu Pilot plane, which is my test platform for learning Ardu Pilot, and which I've only started diving into Ardu Pilot a little bit. I have a black cube that I got as a Christmas present, I think like 2 years ago. That's brand new in a box. You'll see a theme is I have a bunch of stuff that's brand new in a box. Good thing is, like, you know, if we ever have a situation like Ukraine, you know, here, I'll be ready to throw some drones up in the air and, you know, assist, because I have enough stuff to build like 10 drones. So that's a good thing. But yeah, so, you know, I'm currently going to school for cybersecurity, and I've been learning a lot about technology, and, you know, this drone stuff is kind of a hobby for me right now, but it kind of piqued my interest into other areas as well. So I think getting into Autopilot, learning VTOL, and then doing some stuff with Mavlink and stuff like that. My goal with my VTOL build eventually would be to do a 4G setup that I'd be able to fly with a 4G control link via Autopilot and Mavlink with a computer and do missions and stuff like that. I'm really interested in what's going on right now in the space with all these drone deliveries and stuff like that. I think the technology is really cool. Kind of hate it as a hobbyist because they're commercializing the 0 to 400 airspace. That's what all this remote ID stuff is about. It's not about identifying, you know, hobbyist drones. They're doing all this stuff because all these companies want to buy that 0 to 400 airspace. There's a lot going on right now. And basically, companies are buying the 0 to 400 airspace from the FAA. The FAA is not going to say it like that, but that's what's basically going on. So, just in case anybody was wondering. Everybody's smart, though. They know what's going on. So I'm going to try to get like a little pick tool or something into... So I keep a lot of these little pick tools on hand. I'll show you on the camera real quick. I keep a bunch of these pick tools in hand. They work great sometimes. I'm going to try to reach around to the bottom of the servo without doing too much damage to the foam. That didn't work. And they really do a good job of gluing these servos in here, Motion. There we go. Here we go. Alright, not bad. Didn't damage the foam too much. And I got that servo out. So the good thing now is, this is the flap servo. I'll be able to take this with the control horn, plop it right back into space. I shouldn't have to adjust anything. It should just go right back to where it was. I might have to on the aileron side because of the hinges that I installed in these, so I might have to reel it in a little bit. But it should just go right back to kind of where it was. Boom. Look at that. Booyah. Good thing is I noticed that Motion includes this tape with the new wings, which is nice. Most companies make you buy the tape as like an added thing. So there we go. Check the wires. Everything is good. Got the aileron servo. Got the flap servo. So now what we'll do is we'll get, this is I believe the right hand wing. Yes, this is the right wing. So get a nice flat surface over here. Everything's a mess right now, I swear. I don't normally like working like this, but I'm kind of like in build and go mode. I ended up crashing 3 planes the other day, and you know that's the reason why I actually have so many planes, is because A, I enjoy building, I enjoy the different characteristics from the different planes, but B, I get to the point where I'm at like the end of the season, and you know summertime is a busy time, and all of a sudden I don't have anything to go out and do a quick fly. You know, if somebody calls me up, hey, you want to go flying tomorrow? I don't have anything to fly because everything's crashed and broken. So it's going to be a rough year with that because I don't have as many planes as I would like to get flying right now. I think I have 7 or 8 planes right now that actually fly out of the 10 or 12 that I have up on the wall. So yeah, that could be, I've crashed, you know, 4 planes in a day before. Actually, I've crashed more than that. I've crashed 4 or 5 planes in a day before. Alright, so this plane is done, this wing is done. I will put this off to the side for right now. We're going to grab, this is the foam, I told you guys about this before. I like to keep spare bits of foam. So now I can put this new wing down and I don't have to worry about damaging it. It's a good little tip. Keep some of the soft packaging foam. I even keep some of like the thicker foam blocks from some stuff that I order. I can stab my tools into it, so if I'm working on something, I'll use it, stab my tools into it. I know where my tools are. It makes it kind of helpful. Carefully cut this without cutting. There we go. And where's the white one? Is this the right one? Nope. That's the left wing. Right? Left wing? Yep, that's the left wing. We want the right wing, which is this one. So even though I'm off today, I can hear my emails pinging in my head right now through my Bluetooth. And I have the kind of job where there's nobody backing me up answering all those emails, so being off is kind of just puts me behind a day, to be honest with you. Doesn't really help me at all. Okay. Alright, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. If I swap this stuff over, be good to go. We have a flap servo here. We'll stuff that in there. We'll get the wiring going. So let's set her. Let's see. Put a battery in. I'm just going to test this servo again real quick before I put it in. That's the last thing you want to do, is have to put the servo back in after you glued it in. They put a new servo in after you've glued it in. Use my little M6, my Toolkit M6. Love this thing. Great little servo tester. Alright, so that's 1500 there. And what I can do is I can just hold the servo in my hand. And now you can see the servo working. The servo doesn't really seem too happy though. It's kind of binding and clicking. But it's a flap servo, so she doesn't get a lot of use. Sometimes I'll only put the flaps down when I'm doing a landing. I don't really use them on takeoff unless there's like no wind out or I have a short runway, then I'll use them on takeoff. Now they have a little bit of glue from when they installed it, so I want to kind of get that off. I don't want to damage the servo, I just want to cut that off nicely. So I'm just taking my razor knife here and I'm just getting underneath the surface and getting down to the plastic a little bit, and I'm just chopping that off. You want to be really careful. I've cut myself a bunch of times with these stupid razor knives, and they are very sharp. When you cut yourself with a razor knife, you don't really feel it the second you do it, and then you just bleed everywhere, and then it hurts afterwards. It's not like cutting yourself with a knife. This kind of just creates a cut, and then you get a flap of skin. Kind of gross, I know. Just want to scrape this off. So the reason I'm doing this is I want to make sure my glue, and I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue. I just want to make sure my glue works really well. It gets in there good. It gets a good bond. So yeah, this is where I'm at right now. I'm at the point where I'm just rocking and rolling. Yeah, I've been dealing with so much stuff right now between school and work and the kids and just everything that I probably shouldn't be taking a day off to play with this stuff right now, but it's one of those things that kind of takes away my stress a little bit too. Tinkering has always kind of helped me clear my head, and it's kind of like a reprieval for me. I don't get stressed out by tinkering. I enjoy it a lot. I've always been like that. Like when I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was, especially in the winter, was build models. Those Testor models that everybody used to play with. Yeah, that was me. I used to love that stuff. So I'm going to tuck that in there. Yep, that's good. She's right at the right spot. Alright, so we're going to get that in there. I'm going to tuck the wires in. I'm going to have to pop this thing off here and re-glue that back on. Not a big deal though. Okay. Alright. Gonna take a battery. I should have a charge like 4,000 or something like that around here. Charged 4,000 or 5,000. We could just take my battery tester, see what we got, see what the voltage is on this bad boy. 16.3, perfect. So yeah, right now my batteries are stored in a file cabinet, but what I'm going to do is, because it's metal, so if there is any kind of lipo fire in there, it'll contain it hopefully to the metal. But what I am planning on doing is I'm going to line the inside of it with that cement board sheetrock stuff, so that'll help contain it a little bit more. And they actually make fireproof insulation in rolls, so that will be like a fireproof container for my batteries. And I have like 45 batteries at this point, so if there was a lipo fire in there, it wouldn't be great. Alrighty then. Okay, so that's good to go. Get my heat gun, my glue gun. Get a couple of glue sticks. Move the Bronco out of the way for a second. have a black glue stick in there right now, and I don't want to use that for this, so. Okay. So she is good to go. Get that in there, glue that in, boom. Let's get this retract in here. Double boom. The retract wire goes this way. Like so. Okay. And the retract itself goes right there. And this metal plate goes over the top of it. Nice. Good to go. There's my screwdriver at, so I can put the retracts in. I'm putting the retracts in while the glue gun heats up. I have a Ryobi glue gun, but the battery's dead on it right now. I'm going to charge actually a bunch of those batteries. So I'm just going to use my regular XT60 battery operated heat gun for now. It's a good way to get some of my batteries to storage voltage too. That battery shouldn't be at 16.3. I must have charged it for a flight and not taking it back down to storage voltage. I like to keep my batteries at like 15.3, 15.5 for storage voltage. I always like to come down from flying around like 15. I would rather have, maybe a minute less of flight than smoke my battery. So I like to be safe and treat my batteries nice. I have batteries that I've had now for like almost 6 years, and they still work great. Every year I go through my batteries though, and I test them. I make sure the cells are good. That's one thing that I can say is you need to make sure you look at your batteries. Even if you're not flying, you need to take one day a month and go over your batteries if you're not flying. Make sure none of them have any bad cells or anything like that. Yeah, so actually last year I was going through my batteries and I noticed that one of my batteries, it was reading okay voltages, but the casing itself had like a little bubble, and it actually looked like the cell was like almost like exploding on its own, and nothing damaged it or anything like that. So I played it safe with that one, and I discharged it and I disposed of it because I wasn't gonna play games with that. A $20 or $30 battery isn't worth burning your house down over. So I'm screwing in the retracts right now. I'm going to have to align that retract door a little bit. Maybe play with the alignment of the retract a little bit as well. Loosen that up a little bit so we can get it nice and aligned. That screw's fighting me. And my glue gun smells like it's ready to go. So what I want to do is pull this black one out first. There we go. brush out. That black glue. I'm just pushing it right out to the table because I can just peel it off. There we go. Now we're starting to get some clear glue out. Now the reason I'm doing that is they're actually kind of different glues, so I don't want to mess with the glue's composition at all by having two different glues in there. And I'm just making sure the retract is where it should be, and then I'll tighten that down. There we go. You just want to be snug, you don't want to over tighten it. This screw is fighting me for some reason, so I'll back it out a little bit. I'll go back in with that. I don't want to put too much pressure on it and dent the wing. And that one's good. Now I'll tighten up this one. Okay. There we go. Now just go through. Make sure these are good, nice and snug. That one's good. That one's good. That one's good. That one's good. Good. So the retract is where it should be. I should be able to move over this thing just a little bit. Adjust that over a little bit. Okay, there we go. Retract is in and where it should be. So, now I could also adjust the retract a little bit once I open it, so I'm not worried about that. But for the most part, it's where it should be. Now, what you could do with these pick tools, another great reason these tools are great, is don't take the sharp side, right? If you take the pointy side and you push the wires in, you can damage the wires. But you can take the rounded side, and that will help you push the wires down into the channel where you need it to be without damaging the wire. And since I have a couple of wires that have to fit in this channel here, I want them to be nice like that. Okay, so now next little guy is going to be this servo here. Make sure that all lines up nice. The wire nice and straight. I like to feed the wire in first if I can. It helps me not have to fight with it after I put the servo in, so if I can get the wire in first. There we go, just like that, and then push the wire down a little bit. Right, because you got the glue coming in soon, so you only have so long. And what I will do is I'm just going to add a little glue on this side right here. Add a little glue here, and add a little glue to the bottom of it, and that should be all she wrote for this. Okay. Okay. And just push that in. The wire came out a little bit, that's alright. Looking for a little piece of foam. And then just take a little piece of foam and smooth out that glue. Okay. 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 Just put a little bit right here. And on that side. Alright, and now that servo is in, and the wire is in. Okay. That's that. Very cool. Alright, one servo in. One to go. Where did I put it? There it is. Alright, now this one I'm probably going to have to adjust a little bit. So I'll get that servo in. And I'll hook it up to the servo tester, see where it needs to be, and adjust it. Shouldn't have to adjust the flat because it should be the exact same, length for the old wing to the new wing. I might have to adjust it, but I don't think I will. Now, you're not supposed to cut to yourself when you're using a razor knife like this, but I'm an idiot, so it's a good way to hurt myself. Now, I've always played with RC. When I was younger, I was like addicted to remote control cars. I had a Blackfoot, I had a, I think it was a Frog, I had a couple of Tamiya things, Grasshopper. My dad actually got me into building, my dad used to build RC balsa airplanes. And they would never, we would start them up in the house, they would run great, and then we'd take them out to the field and they wouldn't run, and then they would meet their demise by my dad jumping on them and attacking them because they wouldn't run right. But I did learn, from him, and that's where I got into RC airplanes. And then, when the Tracks and Slashes came out, there's a local racetrack, and I got a Slash, and I had 2 Slashes. I had a stock one for the stock class, and a mod one for the mod class. The difference between all of that stuff and the FPV hobby, right, and the drone hobby is you've got to learn a lot more, especially if you're building a kit with one of these planes, like a binary or my carbon wing, you get to learn a lot more about flight characteristics and the controls and the sensors and the flight controllers and all of that good stuff. And it really makes you learn a lot of new stuff, which is great. And that's why I really love it so much, is because you just, I was a car guy, and now I can build a drone from scratch with the latest technology, flight controllers and stuff. I can make it fly, I can make it do a mission, that's pretty cool stuff. So that's the difference between the regular, RC hobby and kind of what I do, or what us drone enthusiasts do. And that's why we love it so much. Michael Rollins basically put it the best way in one of his last videos. I think he said, we get to put our bodies and minds into a flying robot and experience the world through the eyes of a flying robot, and that's literally the best way to describe it. Alright, so this one's in. I get the wire in and ran a little bit. This wire is a little bit longer run, so I'm just going to start it out like I did on the other one, and we're going to get some glue in there. Get it in the hole. There we go. Swallows in. That worked nice. And since this is the aileron servo and I'm using it a lot more, I would put a little bit on the bottom here and on the sides. Gotta tell you, I really admire those guys who build, you know, the planes and models and stuff for those scale competitions like Top Gun and stuff like that. I don't have the patience to build one to like that exact scale. And then, you know, the crazy thing about doing all that is you spend so much time making every detail right and putting a crazy cockpit in it and little LEDs to make the cockpits light up and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, it's really cool. But after spending like 1,000 hours building a remote control airplane that you're probably at some point going to crash, I would be really sad. I would be really sad. You know, another great thing, and this is what the FAA doesn't realize about this hobby, is I'm trying to get my kids interested in this, and you know, they kind of like it. They're not 100% into it, but you know, drones are the wave of the future, right? This technology, between delivering food and medicine and everything else that we can do with them, from a military standpoint, you know, they are going to be probably the most important thing on the battlefield. You know, we're not fighting wars anymore where guys are running at each other, you know, like they were in World War II. You know, everything now is fought from a distance with drones and stuff like that. And as a country, we're actually behind drone technology as a country. You know, most of my drone parts, my flight controllers and stuff, they come from China. There isn't a lot of American companies manufacturing stuff. And that's a problem, right? China is a country that wants to overtake us. And they are electronics wise, technology wise, they're ahead of us in this stuff. You know, we might be developing it and creating it, right? But they're the ones who are actually building it, and they're making it, and they're learning. And you know, it's going to get to the point where we're not going to be able to compete with their drone technology. You know, the largest drone company in the world is DJI. And don't get me started on DJI. I hate DJI as a company. But I recognize what DJI has done to the drone industry. And that's a Chinese company. There we go. That's it. That wing's done. So not bad. I'll swap over the other wing, get that in there. I noticed the motor feels like it's got a little bit of play in it, so I don't know if when I landed on the ground hard that the prop may push a little pressure into the motor. I'm hoping there's nothing wrong there, but there could be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the prop off and just give the motor a look, if I can't just look from the front of it. I mean, it doesn't look like anything's broken, it just looks like it's got a little play in it, but this is a quick fix. You know, half an hour to an hour, both wings will be back on the plane will be up and flying again. So I can't argue with that. And that's it. That's all she wrote. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll bring you along on some new adventures with other projects and stuff. Alright, thanks everybody. Once I get closer with the Bronco, I will, that I haven't been really keeping anybody included in that, so we'll just go over that really quickly. So this is the cockpit. Like I said, I'm going to put a pan tilt setup on the cockpit, right? But here, I'm going to do a L9R receiver. This is going to have a full pan tilt setup. I'm doing an L9R receiver, and then I'm going to use an X8 RS or RXRS, the small ones, the little small receivers. I'm going to use a satellite receiver on this. This plane actually takes two 4,000 milliamp batteries, so it's a big plane. It's a really big plane. The retracts on this plane are gorgeous too. You can see them here. They're aluminum retracts. Motion did a really good job with this plane. So, but anyways, as I go along with this project, you know, since I'm already like 90% into it, I may not keep everybody along. So what I did here was I also strengthened the nose. I put 3mm carbon rods on the outside. So if I do take a hard landing with the nose, there's some extra strength there now. So, and what I am planning on doing is, I want to put an FPV bomb on this, so i.e. a little bomb with an FPV camera on it, and I'm going to do it from a servo drop, so that's going to be really cool too. So, alright everybody, when I get to doing that cool stuff, I'll bring you along for the ride. Thanks for watching everybody.